So, as I was saying, the film we just watched just really, really, really touched my heart and brought up a lot of sadness that we're still talking about safety of mothers and babies for as long as we're still talking about the same issues for mothers and babies. I'm going to get around to sharing my birth story. I just want to say a few things before we get to that. I do want to thank all of y'all for being here. It means so much. And our experience today is really part of a four class series focused on birth. And what it was supposed to be, just like birth, what it was supposed to be has been changed several times in my mind. So I'm just going with the flow of it. It has a lot to do with my promise to myself and my promise to the Great Mother that I want to share the blessings of birth with as many people who need to hear it, especially women, because female-bodied people are the ones who are going to go through this process. But other people, other people are going to be experiencing this with birthing people. People could be mates, other mamas, aunties, all these other people. And there is a tremendous way we are being deprived of one of the most precious, holy, sacred things that happens often when you think about it. There are moms giving birth right now. Quite a few, probably. If you think about the whole world, at any given moment, someone's giving birth. Right now. So it is a shame to think of how much women in so-called civilized societies are missing, and how much information that you actually can be getting from being in that process of giving birth to another being, that helps you to raise this child. And then we look at this world where children are a mess. You got little kids on antidepressant medication. What's that coming from? So we can't, I think the way we're living is the problem. And that means we're not living together as human beings. We're not living heart to heart with one another. And there's so many systems where we're being separate from each other. So let's take the babies away from the mothers, the kids away from the parents. There's this tremendous energy invested in keeping us not bonded, unbonded. And human beings are suffering because of that. People are not happy. This is not helping at all. But that's the system in which we live. And so how do you hold on to your heart and your desire to truly connect with other human beings in the society where everybody's disconnected? I ran into a couple of groups on Facebook with women processing with each other all this horrible mistreatment and infidelity and other horrible things on women who are dating, who find out that they're dating the same guy. And it's like, that's crazy. I didn't even think that was on when I first got on Facebook, 14 years ago. And not even that, but they are like, there's LA, are we dating the same guy? And then in the East Bay, are we dating the same guy? And I was like, this is so, speaks of a tremendous lack of honor. You know, so I'm putting out healing for that. What I'm holding in my hand is the process. It is a symbol of the process of where this is actually done to spec. So there's 1 centimeter, and here's 10 centimeters. And we go through that process. Isn't that amazing? Mm-hmm. And then we close up. Mm-hmm. Then we can go on with our happy little lives, right? So you look at that and you're like, what the hell? Mm-hmm. It's impressive. Mm-hmm. And you know, ancient humanity used to respect female-bodied people for going through this. Right? And we should be respected for that, and we should teach respect when we're done. But I just want to give a brief little talk about labor itself. Labor will never work the same way in every human being on the earth. That's one of the big problems with medicine. Medicine looks at labor like this beautiful, handmade, helpful diagram here. But everybody will do this differently, right? So typically the focus is on first-time moms because they're the most kind of sort of uniform. There's no uniformity in this process, but the first-time mom is kind of sort of, they kind of all do the same thing. So I look over there and make sure our midwife is nodding at me. And she's right, right? So the first bit of this, dilation to 1 centimeter, 2 centimeters, 3 centimeters, 4, you might not even experience that. You might not feel anything. I was 4 centimeters dilated, so I was this big for the whole last month of my pregnancy with the twins. And no doctor at that time thought that they should do anything to me about that. I recently heard a young lady talking about being 4 centimeters, and the doctor said, oh, we're just going to induce you. Ah, 4 centimeters, so what? I did not feel this happen to me. I was too busy being fat and sassy and eating everything in the whole wide world. And I could not get enough sex. Oh my God. Chasing my ex-husband around. I was like, you're a guy. Why are you running from me? You silly man. Anyway, I said this earlier today. That's why he's an ex-husband. Bye. So this first 4 centimeters you might not feel a lot. Some people feel like regular menstrual cramps. Some people feel stronger than usual menstrual cramps. All of those things could be contractions. Some people might not feel the first 4, but then when you get to 5, you start to feel something. You call in your doula. You call in your midwife saying, good for you, go to sleep. Eat and go to sleep. Right? Your doula saying, oh, that's fabulous. You're eating, when's the last time you ate? All those people who love you and who are part of your caring team were going to say that to you. That's very exciting. And you're still home. You're still chillaxing. Or you're not feeling anything, which is pretty exciting. But all those things are very, very possible. When you get back here, you might be feeling a lot. Right? So 6, 7, 8, well, 10, excuse me, I skipped 1. When you get into 6 centimeters, so we'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. For most people, we're in transition. People make a big deal about transition, because it is a big deal. But people make too big of a deal about it, especially for people who are having babies. Everybody's so preemptively afraid. Okay? If you've been eating well your whole pregnancy, and during this whole part here, you've been drinking and resting and eating and peeing and pooping and doing all that stuff that humans do, you can definitely feel some real intense feelings because your body's making a lot of hormones. Transition is like the peak of your hormones. So if you were to look at this as a bell curve, all this is going up, and then you get here, and then it's whoosh down. And because it's a whoosh, like if you were going up a roller coaster, and that top is like 6, 7, and that's the part where you're on the roller coaster, and you're like this, oh my God, right? But then when you whoosh, you're smiling for the camera, right? And they take your picture. And then you got a baby, right? If your baby's all nicely lined up, you got a nice LOA baby, and you're happy and you're healthy and you're safe and your partner's smiling proud of you and your mother's crying in the corner, all that great stuff, this is doable. This is very doable. If you remember what I'm saying to you now, that it will feel like you're on the top of the roller coaster and you're like, what the Christ is happening? It will feel like that somehow. I can almost guarantee you. Most people. Right? Whoosh down, the baby's this big. Cervix is that open, and then you get to push your little baby out. And the mama goes, oh, I did that. Mm-hmm. And your babies will be the most beautiful thing you've ever seen in your whole life. There will be no other being as beautiful as your baby. I promise. Tell me if I'm wrong. Mm-hmm. Not though. Mm-hmm. So I just want to point out this process. So much is being made about this process, so much is being said about this process, and so much about it is negative that I want to give it its own special time, right? No two people will do it the same way, and 100% of people are going to be ecstatically happy when it's over. Yeah, see all the heads nodding. Hey, Priscilla. I'm glad you made it, girl. So, the most important thing that I'm going to say over and over and over is that this process does not have to be torturous. And we've got, 3 more sessions that I'll talk about ways that we can kind of keep it as grounded as possible. And we'll talk about hormones next time, and we'll talk about the ways that those really important hormones are really blocked from us when we're in a hospital setting. And we'll also talk about how we can make the hospitals better, because some people have to go to the hospital. So we don't want to leave you out or leave you feeling like you need to miss out. So I'm so glad that we're a room full of doulas, because that means that everything I share will get replicated to other people. First thing is, we are going to do our best to not be afraid of the juices of life. Like, yeah, there's going to be mucus, there's going to be blood, it's going to be all our life force fluids is part of bringing our children into the world, right? Birth is one of the few places, if not the only place, where blood is really present and nobody's dying, which is why we were worshipped as God for quite a few years in our humanity. Because these creatures would fall out, groan and moan, blood everywhere, and 2 people are alive. And you think how trippy that is. That's true. So, the guys were like, whoa, we're gonna have respect for you, because this process is deep and you're still alive. Right? And some people, I know my grandmother, her attitude was, wow. I said to my grandmother, I had a little bit of fear. I said to my grandmother, well, they think that I'm having 2 babies. They just done their sonogram and found 2 infants and not 1 infant. And my grandmother's attitude was, you can have 2 babies. You can do that. as opposed to people inflicting all this terror on pregnant people, or looking at pregnant people like they have some kind of disease, which doctors tend to do. You have 20,000 diseases, so we have to give you tests almost every other week. No one tells you to eat some protein. Not one word. Midwives will say that. Eat your greens. My grandma would say that. Intelligent woman she was. May she rest well forever. Right. So the deal is, it is a simple yet complicated process. We have to take super good care of our bodies. We have to take super good care of our bodies long before we try to conceive a baby. Don't just try not to be in a situation where you find out you're pregnant and then that's the first time you're really eating 3 meals a day and drinking enough water. Do that before there's a baby starting to grow in your body. Right? Our sex lives are connected to our reproduction. It's part of our reproduction. Look at you. So we have to.
Okay.
So Christina's here.
Okay.
She's in this room right here.
Okay.
So if you guys are ready, just let me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course. And give me the details for the next one.
I will.
And what kind of food you guys want.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
Sounds great.
Bye.
So, for female-bodied people, we always have to have a thought of reproduction, right? Folks who want to have babies who should be able to, right? So, your whole life, you're preparing for that moment when you say yes to being a mama. And so I'm talking a lot about things that I kind of see with clients. Like they've been eating horribly until they're now, 37 years old and wondering about all these things. The doctors are worried about things that are true and can kill people. It's not that preeclampsia doesn't exist. It does exist. Sadly, medicine keeps saying that they don't know why some people get preeclampsia, but midwives have known why forever, right? And so we're going to think like midwives, even if you're not a midwife yet, or even if you're not a parent yet, we're going to think about the possibility of creating new life with our bodies. And that's about self-esteem. And that's about absolute health. So it'll be easier to get pregnant if we're making love to boys and we're a girl. It'll be easier. And it'll be easier if you're doing any kind of reproductive technology. Your body will be receiving that technology easier, and you'll be able to put that technology to work easier in a very healthy body. Right? You'll be able to run after your 2-year-old and sit down and talk about life and the birds and the bees with your 7 to 8-year-old much better if you are just constantly taking care of yourself. And so I'm going to talk more about nutrition, exactly what the components of nutrition are, but I will start by saying that we're going to talk about 100 grams of protein every day. That's the building block. This is 200 pounds of protein. That's what you're looking at, right? And so if you don't take in protein, if I had a baby growing inside of me, which would be a miracle, because I'm not doing the thing we do to make one of them right now, and that's fine with me. I've seen mamas put themselves in a position where they kind of make a parasite out of their babies, because nature will move forward very powerfully. The mother is expendable. People get all warm and fuzzy about Mother Nature. She will kill you. And what are you going to say about that? I mean, she's like, eat 100 grams of protein. And 100 grams of protein is the minimum, right? If you check with certain groups, like that they're around 80 grams, It depends on what source you look at. I have found it productive to say 100 grams is your minimum and you can have more. Please don't have less. You want a nice, big, bouncy, happy baby that wants to nurse right away and is adorable to your eyes, and you don't feel afraid to pick the baby up because it's not a little wimpy, poor little baby. And that bond, that part that makes mamas want to kiss their babies and hug them and be with them, that's very important psychologically for you and your baby. Right? Because you've loved your baby inside your body, and now there's a new layer of love because your baby's outside your body. And the baby's being nurtured from your breast milk, which is protein, right? So I'm gonna say that a lot, hopefully not too much, because it's really disastrous to me, because I very few clients are eating enough protein. And unfortunately, they're going to doctor's offices every few months, and they're asking them all kinds of questions, but I have yet to have a client been asked by their doctor, how much protein do you eat every day? And if you say, did you eat today? Yes. Okay, check that off. She could have eaten a bowl of penne pasta at noon. It's now 4. This child is starving, little kids in there with this little cup against the bars in the prison. It's hungry, right? And then we want this very intricate process of labor to be able to work. So what I mentioned before about what some people feel, or some people don't feel anything, some people can go through this whole process and not experience anything that is painful. I had labors like that. That's not good, better, best. It's just the way it was for me. I'm actually rather grateful to God because I had a very pain-filled childhood. Maybe I got a little break in my baby making. God works like that sometimes, right? But I do know that what had to happen was that my babies were lined up upside down in my body. This part of their heads coming out first. When you see a baby crown, you're seeing this part of the baby's head. The smallest part of the baby's head comes out, and everybody goes, oh, I see the head. You're seeing back here, but that's okay. In that small spot back here, as the baby comes out like this, and it stretches nice and easy because the smallest part comes out first and opens up for the rest of the head. Easy peasy, right? So how do we get those babies in that position? Mommy is active. We are the descendants of hunter-gatherers, wherever on the planet our people come from. Hunters and gatherers move a lot, they walk a lot. And then they have nice big periods of rest because this is the season when the animals are available to be hunted, right? Or certain plants are growing that we want to pick and eat. But they spend most of their time up on their feet hunting and gathering. Another thing is our ancestors didn't sit in chairs. No human being past a certain time sat in chairs. Now, sitting here in this chair, and then we had all those crazy European colonizers. God bless. Rest in peace, folks, but we have to stop what you did. Because they were like, want to be ladylike. So we got to sit like my friend Mika. This is the worst. If she was pregnant, I would move her little thigh.
To something real.
And here we have a pregnant lady sitting perfectly. This is perfectly.
Can we?
Yeah, show her. Look at that. The first one, let's stay there for a while. So this is beautiful, Maria. She's expecting a lovely baby. We can't wait to see this baby. This baby's gonna be so cute. Okay, but look at how she's sitting. That's perfect. Her knees are wide apart, right? Her back is straight. Well, it's getting straighter. And so the little baby inside of her, Maria's little baby, can settle down in her pelvic bones with his back, with looking at his mama's back, or her mama's back. We don't know yet, huh?
It's a girl.
So I'm even more excited. So this little one, of course, it would be more checking we need to do. There's no need to do all that for Maria yet. Just trying to take a dual class. But her baby is staring at her back, and its little chin is tucked. And so this part, and she's like 31 weeks. You're 31 weeks. So, baby could still be doing other things. But when it's time for baby to be born, its chin will be tucked, and this part of his head is going to be down and at the cervix. And that contact between baby's head and mama's cervix releases all kinds of hormones, and especially oxytocin. We love oxytocin. Oxytocin that helped mommy fall in love with daddy. All those lovely orgasms that I hope you all had to make their baby. Thank oxytocin for that. We will thank oxytocin for the milk that she will make to feed her beautiful baby. We'll all be like, can we feed the baby? No, because she's feeding the baby. It's great. All those lovely hormones. And also there are hormones that will help that cervix open up to here. How does she get to be there? My prayer for her, because she's having a home birth, so she has a really good chance of this too, is that she's happy, and she's warm, and she's not afraid, and she's loved. She has a sweet partner, very cute. He's very cute. And so she will be in this position where she'll be maybe a little nervous, maybe a little afraid, but then somebody will touch her, give her a kiss, somebody will fix her a nice fat sandwich, and she'll be free to say, I feel afraid, and somebody will say, whoa, no, don't be afraid, right? As opposed to, well, let's just get you that epidural. Then you don't feel anything, and that's not good. There's a connection between you and your little baby right now, and taking medications gets in the way of that connection. And there's that connection that will help you throughout your whole life being that child's mother. You don't want to be disconnected from your child. Because children are crazy, and that's why they have parents. And that's why they have mamas and grandmas and aunties and tias who feel them. They're not numb from them. Okay? Mommies have been through this whole process of having the baby, and daddies have another way of doing it too. Daddies who love their partners and make babies with women that they love are connected to their babies too. Mommy's just the first connection. So if we have whoever the parents of the baby are, they are connected with that baby. So I'll just say, I loved having my kids. I went through a lot. Having twins in New York State was very difficult. I'm a New Yorker originally. I was not able to have my twins outside of a hospital. I initially planned to have my kids in a birthing center. When I thought it was this baby, I found the perfect birthing center, and I didn't want to be anywhere near a hospital. I had been a rather sickly little girl, and hospitals were not fun places for me. They're still not fun places for me. So, but because of the patriarchal arm of New York State, I had no choice in the matter. I had to have my babies in the hospital. The midwives at my birthing center were wonderful to me. They helped me find a good hospital that wouldn't think I was crazy for wanting to have my twins the way I wanted to have my twins without medications. And I was Everybody thought I was crazy because I wanted to breastfeed them. Yeah, I breastfeed twins. Yes, I do. My body made too big. I have two breasts. It worked out so well.
I believe that. I do too.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm good. That's right. There's one little head, two little heads. Okay, so I was prepared and I was down for all that. And the people around me, I was sent to a hospital environment where people were very cool about that. I was also fortunate because I was having my kids at the end of the natural childbirth movement in this country. So a lot of people were talking about having natural births, much more than now. And so, you know, my mom was the only person who thought I was crazy, which is sad. But everybody else around me being very, very excited and very anticipatory. The only fear I had in my pregnancy was when I was coming into the hospital to have my kids, and I saw my mother's face, and she looked like she was afraid she'd never see me again. And that was the only thing. I was like, what? Oh, Mom, why do you look like that? Right? And I had to grow up some more and finally get my mother's whole birth story to understand why she looked like that. So we have to give grace to our mothers for the trauma that they had and survived and still raised us. I didn't have that trauma. I had no trauma in my childbirth. My childhood had plenty of therapy hours in that, right? I loved feeling my labor. I found myself in a bathroom all by myself, and I just wanted to stay in this little bitty bathroom all by myself. I really wanted everybody to go away and just be by myself in the bathroom. I felt dreamy and high and fabulous. I felt the way I do when I am deep in prayer. That's how I felt. Like God was right there. And she loved me. She had nothing but blessings for me. And I felt great. And then I finally realized I need to leave this bathroom. My poor baby's gonna splash into the bathroom, into the toilet, and that's not good. So got up, and everybody was pretty much very good to me, because I do believe my doctor spoke to them. He was a very sainted person. I love him so much. He has gone to heaven, but he's delivering all the baby angels in heaven, and he's still having a happy life. He's like, listen, you know, this is a natural birth, Mom. No need for BS, blah, blah, blah. Right? Feeling my kids be born, feeling my kids leave my body was amazing. It was amazing. And I couldn't talk about that with other people for a really long time. I had no words to even talk about how that felt. How much joy that gave me. So I was talking to Chi earlier about how I had to learn to have grace for my clients who had difficult births, because that's the one section of my life that I really felt like I was in charge. I really felt like God was in charge and that I was being carried along by God. And I was happy, was very happy, right? So I'm sharing this story because I think, I know there's a lot of other women, birthing people who have had births like that, but we don't talk about it because we don't want to make other people feel bad. And I'm gonna talk about it even more than I have been talking about it for 43 years of being a doula, because stories like that will save us. It will save us as humans, because the alternative is not good. What's happening to our babies is not good. What's happening to us as birthing people is not good. We're not bonding with our babies. We're not happy and healthy. We are stressed out. Our poor babies cannot breastfeed, which makes a lot of buddy for lactation consultants, and I no shame for like a good lactation consultant walks on water as far as I'm concerned. But quite a few people don't need that kind of care because the baby is not seeing 3 nipples, the baby sees 1 nipple. And a healthy, happy newborn baby, all they want to do is eat. That's all they want. They want nothing else. Couple kisses and the titty. Where is it? That's what they're up to, you know? So there's all these ways in this culture that there's some way to make money off our disability, our inability. And there is so much power in being able to nurse your baby.
It's not even that inability or disability, it's the implied.
Absolutely. It's created.
Yeah.
That is exactly what I mean. Yeah, so we are put into a place of not being able, and then, okay, here comes the expert.
Someone to save me.
So, that's all I'm gonna say about the birth of my twins. My beautiful first pregnancy and childbirths were of my sons, David and Robert. And I wanna invite anybody who wants to share how they felt, anything they want to share about their birth experience. I also want to point out that, you know, in order to have a baby, you have to not be ladylike. Having a baby, ladylike, that's the spouse of the oppressor. So nowhere are we going to act like colonized people when we have our babies. So you get to make noise. You get to sit with your knees nice and wide so babies can come on out of there. You do all these things that have nothing to do with being colonized at all. It has to do with you being very free. And as long as you are doing something that's productive to your labor process, no midwife is going to stop you. So we have time for one more story, and we will be back together next month, and we will talk about more of that. And hopefully we will at one point get to talk about everybody's birth who wants to share it. Who wants to talk about their experience?
I can talk about mine. Yeah. I've had 2 babies born from my body. Both were born at home. My son is 13 years old, and he's my first baby. And I would say like my mom and my aunties and my sisters, my stepmom, like all of them had pretty, like, their birth stories, like they were proud of their births, you know, and they weren't traumatic. They were like, that was hard work, but like, I did that, you know. They were really, and they spoke about their birth stories with fondness and with like, and enjoyed reminiscing about the experience. And so that I'm thankful, I feel very thankful that was the norm that was imprinted on me. I had pictures of when I was born. My aunt, my mom's sister, took pictures of my birth when I was born. So that was all great. And so then I was in labor with my son. I remember the moment I first felt a contraction. I was in line at the bank, and I thought, oh, I'm about to get my period. And then I was like, wait, I'm 9 months pregnant. I'm not about to get my period. Because it like felt like that, right? It was that early crampy feeling. And I was like, wait. And I remember being so, just like that giddiness, excitement, still had energy. They weren't very strong. And I had a day and a half of that. Just kind of really early, feeling really excited. I remember my mom coming over, and we were living in this housing collective at the time, and I was going to give birth. Our bedroom is on the second floor, and I was going to give birth and stay in a room on the first floor. So we were getting that together. It was just like sweet nesting time. And then I remember like, there was maybe that second night, I was like, okay, things are really picking up. And I had wanted I had invited like my dad and my stepmom over, and it was like a party. And then all the contractions stopped because I was like, I think having too much fun. I don't know, I wasn't really like in it. I was like, I want to come, let's hang out. So everything stopped, which was beautiful and great because it allowed me to get some sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So I slept for a couple hours. God, maybe 2 or 3 hours sleep, which, hey, any amount is good in labor. And then I woke up and I was like, I remember waking up and being like, oh, these are different. Oh, okay. And then I got closer together. And then I called my midwife over and I was like, all right, this is really different. And she came over, she stayed for a little bit. She's like, I think you got a little ways to go before they actually, I think I'm going to go home and sleep. Mm-hmm. And then I'll come back. And I was like, oh, it's going to get more. Okay. And then a few hours later, I was kind of drifting in and out. And then I woke up and they got closer together. And then I started throwing up and I couldn't keep anything down. I couldn't keep water down. I couldn't keep anything down. I was like, okay, it's time for her to come back. And so she came back and I wasn't dilated much, but certainly the strength was there and it was really intense. And I couldn't keep nothing down. I was getting pretty weak and dehydrated. So she gave me an IV at home and it really made a difference. Mm-hmm. And I'm really thankful for that medical intervention because I think it kept me home. Mm-hmm. And it was a simple thing to do. And so I spent the day laboring. My baby was...
Could have been a hospital transfer, right?
Yeah, that could have been a hospital transfer, right? And I couldn't lay down. Once the daytime hit, I couldn't lay down. I had to be up and walking and moving all day long. I couldn't sit on a ball. That was too pain. It was like my baby was too low. Mm-hmm. And I think it was posterior for a while. So there's this all that movement was so helpful to turn him. And then at 5 centimeters, I had a strong urge to push. There's 5 centimeters. So then I had to work with that and figure out how am I going to move through that. And so it was an interesting labor it was hard, it was challenging, but I felt so supported in all of that, and I felt so cared for, and I was so thankful to have my home that I could be going around, and my family and my midwife that I just trusted implicitly trusted. And it felt good to be able to just trust my care provider that way. And then in the evening, which I now realize, I was in transition. So it's I don't think I can do this. Or the sun's going down. I'm like, not another night. What do you mean? But eventually I was fully dilated and I pushed. I was so tired when it was time for pushing that I slept between pushes, between contractions, snoring, out. And it was the best sleep ever. It was a few minutes of sleep. And then I wake up, pushing felt so good. It felt yes, now I can go with that feeling of doing something. It felt so good. I have no idea how long I pushed for. I don't know. Who knows? I probably knew at some point, but it felt so intuitive and so I can rest and then I can push. and I could push with my body. No one was telling me how to push. And he came out with a nuchal hand. So he came out like this, and his elbow had been scraping down my spine, which
No.
is intense. And he had this wider diameter, so it took time and it took effort, but I never felt scared about it. I never felt there was anything wrong. Just felt like, yeah, this is how we're doing it. Whereas, like, after being a doula for so long, I'm like, oh, this could have looked so differently in a hospital setting. So I feel really great about this experience, that even though there were things that were like hard, like they were hard about it, I felt so cared for and supported. And I feel now like I can do hard things. Like, I can do it, you know?
Let's say that again.
Yeah,
You can do
I
hard
can do hard
things.
things.
You know, people professionally ride their bikes and run or do all the things that women do. We're strong
Yes.
AF,
Yes.
okay?
Yeah.
But then, you know, having a baby, oh no.
You can't be
No,
sure.
I
Don't be a hero, right? So,
Congratulations.
yeah. And then my second birth, I was like, okay, it'll probably be shorter. It won't be like 2 days. And my first baby was born at 39 weeks. My second one at 40 and 6. And I was like, oh my God, this baby needs to come. And then, you know, one night, my water, everybody went to bed. I was still up. My water opened. I was like, oh, okay, this is going to happen. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to take a shower and go to bed. Take a shower and go to bed because I want that energy, and it's late at night. And I called my midwife. I let her know. I laid down. 15 minutes later, the contractions were so strong. Maybe 20 minutes after that, they were coming every minute, and I was throwing up. I was just over the sink. I was like, I'm just going to labor over the sink. And I was just throwing up. And then my wife was like, I'm calling the midwife again. I was like, no, it's too early. Because my last experience. And she just went in the other room and called her. I was like, I think you need to come. And she got there, and baby was born very soon after. It was a 3-hour from my water open to birth, and about 45 minutes of active labor.
Congratulations.
So,
That's a particular mama.
night and day.
Second babies are amazing.
Yeah. I would never have even made it to hospital if I was happy in a hospital. That's for sure. But second.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Mika, very much. And because we're so close to time, I'm gonna stop us here. We have 3 more sessions. We will talk about everybody's birth, and we'll talk more about hormones next time. Right now, we talked a lot about feelings. Feelings are very important and not talked about enough, so we did do some of that. We will do more. And we'll talk about the hormones that are in charge of all of those things. Why it was wonderful for Mika to not have people counting at her like she's in kindergarten while she's trying to have a baby. What it actually blocks things and makes it a lot harder. Why both myself and Mika did not have epidurals, and what's the benefit of not having an epidural, right? We'll talk about all that stuff. I want to thank you all for being here, and I hope you come back next month and bring a friend.